We should be live. And that is indeed the case. So hello everyone, welcome to the June Stitch and Bitch. I'm Reija, I'm your host this month, and first we'll start by introducing ourselves and talking a little bit about what we're making, and then we can dive straight to reading. So as said, I'm Reija, this is my channel, The Bookfinch, and I mostly talk about some questionable webtoons, manga, and also fantasy books mostly. And today I am continuing my path of mending various things. Um, I'm doing what is called a refashioning of an old hoodie. So this is one of those corporate gift hoodies. So I'm basically ripping out all of the embroidery that and all of the kind of paraphernalia that distinguishes as a corporate hoodie, and then I'm going to re-embroider stuff on it. I'm basically gonna crop it and possibly take out the sleeves and make it into something fashionable and nice to wear instead of something that advertises your allegiance to a business. Yeah, Rachel, you can go next.
Okay. I'm Rachel. My channel is Colonati. I mostly read science fiction and fantasy, queer romance, and nonfiction. And I am spinning on one of my support spindles today, a project that has been sitting collecting dust on my shelf for almost 2 years.
Nice. Kelsey, you are next in the rotation, so.
Yeah, I'm Kelsey. My channel is The Fancy Hat Lady Reads. I'm audio only today because I've been horribly unwell. I don't know how much detail to provide, but what I said on social media is that basically I was in the ER on Thursday night with gastrointestinal symptoms. Oh God, I can't even talk. And I am still feeling a little queasy. I'm still in bed recuperating, trying to drink Gatorade and eat small mouthfuls of gentle foods. Um, and so I'm not crafting. I've not been reading much. I have not been watching much. I am extremely grateful to IV fluids. They're a miracle.
Thank God for modern medicine.
Yeah.
And hopefully you won't need any more for a long time.
Exactly. Kelsey's here to participate in all of the interesting discussions that we're probably gonna have.
Yeah, but just imagine me huddled in bed instead of.
You can be like one of those Victorian ladies on a chaise lounge.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Totally imagine me like that, not in a bedroom piled high with all of my vomit laundry that I haven't been able to do.
Oh God. Di, you're up.
Hi, my name's Diana. My channel Bookish Die, and this is Leia.
Leia.
She's like, I was sitting. Why did you do this to me? I mostly read SFF and nonfiction, and I am almost done with this wrap. I have one more row of pearls, and then I bind off, and then I went to a yarn store yesterday because I had to go up to Portland for a union thing. It's hard to see because my lighting sucks right now, but I bought this really pretty like green and purple Malabrigo yarn. So I have a project in mind for that, but I was good and only bought one skein of yarn.
How very strong of you.
Oh my God.
I applaud
your willpower is amazing.
Exactly. I applaud your willpower.
I do have a lot of yarn that I need to figure stuff out with, and I also need to this summer finish working on the sweater I started back in 2021.
Or you could just start something new.
No, I want to finish this damn sweater so that I can say that I finished a sweater. I know what I need to do. I need to because I tried it on recently and it's still like it still fits. It's just I knitted the body too long. So I need to like frog part of it. So figure out like where I want it to end on my torso, insert the cable, and then frog the yarn so that I can do the ribbing again. And I also need to frog part of the sleeve because the sleeve is too long. And then I have to
You
knit
can
the
do
other
it.
sleeve.
You can do it.
At least shortening things is easier than like having to go back and add more. Like,
Yeah,
it's
I'm
faster.
glad. I'm glad that it's only shortening. I'm going to be on a vacation at the end of June, early July, so I might bring it with me and like have that be the project that I have to get done on vacation.
Okay.
Yes, the Nebula Awards were last night. Are we going to talk about that?
I mean,
Oh.
we can. I have some derogatory feelings about the best novel winner.
We can talk about the Nebula Awards because I do indeed. Have they not?
Where's the full list? I actually haven't looked at the full list. I just know the top 3 categories, and I'm salty about every single one of them.
I think the only one I'm not like salty about is novella, but that's because I'm happy that a Tor novella didn't win.
I have read that particular one, and that I'm also salty about it. Like, yeah, Neon Hemlock does good work. Their authors deserve something here, but why?
Okay, I think I have the winners here. Maybe, possibly. We'll talk about. We are most likely going to be talking about the Nebulas later. Before we go into talking about our reading, hello, Joe. Hello, everyone. Happy Pride. Yes, indeed, Mr. Roro. Happy Pride. It is that month. Remember, Pride is also a protest, so go break some shit. Like in order to what's the word in English? In order to, keep the momentum for human rights. And yes, Kelsey, hope you get better soon.
Thank you, Joe.
And yeah, let's start talking about our reading. We can go in reverse order. So, Dai, why don't you start?
Yeah, so actually,
so you can take the rant.
Since we last met, I've actually been on a pretty good reading kick. So I reread the first 2 volumes of Monstrous because I am so far behind. I want to catch up so I can read what's on the short list. Let's see. I read this nonfiction book called American Poison, A Deadly Invention in the Woman Who Battled for Environmental Justice. So it was very interesting, both in terms of the history and the parallels to what it current day stuff. So it's about the use of lead in gasoline, and it's about that, and it's about this woman, Alice Hamilton, who is one of the first kind of public health doctors, but public health specifically looking at industry and the effect of chemicals and heavy metals on workers and the general populace. And one of her specialties was looking at the effects of lead on people. And then also about the guy who helped invent leaded gasoline, Thomas Midgley, and kind of the battle over lead, its inclusion in gasoline, and kind of the reasons why now we have unleaded gas, but also kind of looking at similar chemicals and similar industrial development. So depressing, but very interesting.
I'm going to gather that the message of the book is we're being poisoned by everything.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I mean, it's like Radium Girls all over again, I would imagine.
Yeah, they actually mentioned the Radium Girls in this.
Also another great book.
And then the other stuff I've read has all been Hugo related. So I DNF'd Service Model. I just was not vibing with it, and I gave myself permission to DNF one of the Tchaikovskys, and that one was it. I think it was supposed to be funny, but I wasn't finding it funny. And I also the quirk in the dialogue where every robot, when they're talking to someone, has who they're addressing, then the sentence. So it's House XXX, Charles, like that, like stylistic choice was very grating to me, and I was like, I can't read 200 more pages of this.
I mean, I noped out of that book within 5 pages because of stylistic reasons. I don't even remember specifics. I was just like, yeah, I'm not going to read something with this tone. It's going to grate on my nerves. And I like Tchaikovsky's work, so
That's
So I
okay.
DNF'd that, so it's not getting ranked. I read The Ministry of Time, and this was one where I was curious about it because it was very divisive among folks I knew who read it. Like, Jenny and Rosanna really loved it. I had some other friends who like really didn't like it or DNF'd it. And so I was like very interested where I was going to fall. And unfortunately, like it was a book where I think there were some really interesting ideas. Unfortunately, what I thought was interesting wasn't necessarily what the author thought was interesting. Because, like, here's the thing. Yes, there's time travel. Yes, there's kind of this exploration of, like, complicity and why someone might become a fascist and, like, how do you change history? Like, are things set in stone? But it's also primarily an RPF romance with an Arctic explorer. And that was
yes.
the part I did not enjoy.
And that's basically what I read the book for.
I am about a third of the way through it, maybe. So I don't have any thoughts yet. But I just have to say, I am in a situation with my Hugo reading where I need to be like influenced to pick up the books. And you all have been de-influencing me in the Stitch and Bitch chat.
It is a really I might do a video
Underwhelming year.
It's a bad
yeah.
It's a bad year, and I don't know why. And I'm going to be so interested to see the long list, but this also honestly feels like a backslide. It feels like people wanted to nominate their faves regardless of quality. It feels like people were ignoring a lot of really interesting, challenging work that was being published in 2024. And like 2024 was kind of like a weird publishing year, it feels like. Like there wasn't anything aside from that, like felt like it had a lot of momentum going into nominating period.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just, this is such a bad shortlist.
I just think there weren't enough serious contenders for award season.
I feel like this year I will be happy if I manage to read the short fiction categories. Like the short stories, novelettes, and novellas are kind of what I try to read. I have unfortunately kind of given up on the novel category because of the de-influencing. Like
no,
maybe I'll
Well,
get
like,
to
this
some of them.
Might be the first year I actually don't make a serious effort to read best novel and focus instead on like Lodestar and Astounding and novella.
No, I'm going to read best novel so I can be an informed whiner. Yeah, so I read Ministry of Time. I would say like that ended up being a 3-star for me. Like it wasn't terrible, but it was one where I think it could have been better.
I think it was a completely serviceable story that was actually written pretty well for what it was. I found it very entertaining and engaging, and I read it in like 2 big gulps, which says a lot considering my attention span.
Oh yeah, like it was very readable. Like
yeah,
but like I don't really have complaints about the prose or like Bradley's writing. It's just I think in terms of like the parts I found interesting about the story and the parts that, given how it was talked about by Jenny and Rosanna, that I was looking forward to seeing how she implemented versus what I actually got in turn, like how it was seeded throughout. I think that was where the disconnect was.
Mm-hmm.
Like if it won, like I don't think it's gonna win, but like if it won, I wouldn't be mad about it. Like it's not
what
my
do you think is gonna win? Because I have no clue.
I unfortunately feel like Someone You Can Build a Nest In is going to win based on the nebulas, and it should not win. It should not be on the short list so I will get to that in a bit. I also read Warp Your Own Way, so the Star Trek graphic novel that was on the short list, and that was fun. I will say I wish I'd gotten a physical copy of it because I was reading. I had an ebook copy of it, and the format just like didn't work quite as well. Unfortunately, my library didn't have a physical copy, and I didn't want to buy it. But it was a fun graphic novel. I thought it did like a really good job of tying the choose your own adventure stuff with Star Trek Lower Decks. Like I had a fun time. I don't know like if I would rank it number one, but it was fun. I liked it. And then I read Someone You Can Build a Nest In. And that is a 2-star for me because I thought the body horror monster stuff was interesting. Unfortunately, everything else was garbage. So this was one where, again, I was interested in reading it because like I had some friends who really enjoyed it and some friends who really didn't like it. And so I was interested to see where I would fall. And unfortunately, I ended up in the I do not like this. This is not an author for me because I felt like he was sanding off the edges of what could have been an interesting story. Because our main character is a monster. Our main character is kind of this blob monster who eats people. But don't worry, she only eats bad people. How do we know that she only eats bad people? Why she tells us she only eats bad people. Has she ever made a mistake? No, she's never made a mistake. So like that took me out of it because I feel because rereading Monstrous, like Micah, she like tries not to eat, you know, her friends, but like sometimes she eats innocent people and she has to live with the consequences.
Yeah, that
And
would have
I think
actually
that's-
been that could actually be a really interesting point to explore, like who gets to make a determination of if someone is bad or not, and like you know.
No, because Wiswell doesn't want complexity in his monsters. He wants to uwu them.
Oh.
So I stopped reading that book partly because I don't like the gory, visceral. I don't like the viscera. That was kind of it for me. But what actually made me stop reading it and just like I got to put this down. I can't take this anymore. Is the inconsistent characterization of the monster character, because like she's been on her own her whole life. She doesn't know about the outside world, and yet she's giving psychological advice about family members to somebody she just met. I'm like, how do you even know these specific words for this thing, much less be able to have a conversation about it?
Monster who doesn't know about humans knowing specific words. The part that made me put down my e-reader and stare at the ceiling for a good chunk of time was the use of the word allosexual in context of allosexual maids did this. I'm like, okay, why does she know this? Why are like I hate to use the word squeak whore because I think it's dumb and I don't like R.S. Benedict, but like this feels like if I was going to point to a squeak whore book, this would be it.
It's such a major characterization inconsistency. It just calls into question all the other decisions that the story rests on. It's just like, no, that's...
This reminds me of when I was reading Girls of Paper and Fire back in the day, and the use of like modern words like soundtrack and stuff that would just pull me out of the story completely because of the kind of the period that the fantasy world is inspired by is like ancient Vietnam and ancient South Asian cultures and stuff. So it's like, why do we have like words that exist because of modern technology in this?
And that's how you know you need a better editor to tell you not to do things like that.
Yeah, so there was that. I also, and this is something that I read Rosanna's review after finishing it, and I agree. There is a huge lack of grace extended to everyone except Homily. Like, it really feels like Homily is not like other girls. And it actually, like, I was thinking about it, and it almost feels like, especially when you get to Homily's family and her younger sisters, that like some people are just born bad and there's not a lot you can do about it. And like, I don't think that was in like what Wiswell was going for, but it feels like that was subtext in like, oh, homily, it's not your fault. Like your sister was always going to be terrible. Your younger sisters were always going to be terrible. So it's not an issue that you killed one of them or like your baby sister got eaten. Oh yeah, an 8-year-old kid gets eaten, but it's like she was a brat, so it's like no big loss.
I mean, who is not a brat when they're 8?
See, I needed you all to convince me to read this book, and you're not doing your job.
I'm sorry.
I'm not going to try to convince you to read it. I quit reading it. I will try to convince you to finish Ministry of Time, though, because I think it's entertaining.
Time is, of the 3 that I've like made an attempt on, I think Ministry of Time is easily the best of them. Again, it was a 3-star read for me, so like I do have my issues, but like again, if it won, I wouldn't complain.
Also, I know we talked about this last time, but The Tainted Cup by Robert Jackson Bennett is like duking it out front runner with A Sorceress Comes to Call for me. Like I can't.
Yeah,
I
I feel like it's gonna be between those two.
The problem is with A Tainted Cup is I feel like for folks who are paying attention, Robert Jackson Bennett shot himself in the foot with that AI thread.
Oh yeah, Renee actually made a comment about this.
Yeah,
me out here rooting for the AI bro at this point.
I'm not rooting for the AI bro. I just happen to really like that book, and I liked it so much I bought the sequels. So
yeah, it's just Ignite Award shortlist drops tomorrow. I just am like, save me, Ignite Award shortlist, save me. Because I like. It can't be worse than this short list, it feels like.
Anything else you've been reading, Dai?
I did start my reread of Black Sun because I want to try and finish the series since it's up for best series. I'm almost halfway through, and I forgot how much like Black Sun is me going, Narampa, girl, come on.
Yeah.
That is basically how me and Rachel's buddy read of that book went, was like, Narampa, please.
All the way until the 3rd book, although Narampa became more interesting in the final portion, I will say.
Yeah.
There's some stuff to look forward to.
That's good to know. So like I am enjoying my reread, but again, I completely forgot how much I was like, Narampa, girl, come on. Come on.
I still say I think Narampa is an idiot, but
I also still maintain that like her brother is a more interesting character and should have been the point of view character instead of her, but that's beside the point. I'm still salty about how that whole thing ended.
I haven't read book 2, so this is going to be interesting.
I will not say. I mean, I'm still halfway through. It's just that nothing is enticing me to pick it back up, and that's a problem. That's unfortunately.
Yeah.
Even though I'm not hating it. Kelsey, do you want to interject for a moment before we move to Rachel about your reading or lack thereof?
Yeah, the only thing I think I've actually finished since we last spoke was Navigational Entanglements off the novella shortlist.
Oh, how did you like that?
I liked it more than I was expecting to, I think, given, reviews I'd seen. I tend to really like de Baudard's Shuya novellas, and so I was a little wary of her doing something else. Like, I also liked Fireheart Tiger, which got nominated for a Hugo, I think, but not as much. And so I felt like this could kind of go either way, and I liked it. I'm not sure how broadly I would recommend it. Like, I was thinking about like what to recommend off the Hugo shortlist to my dad, since he has a membership this year because he lives in Seattle. And, you know, my dad is someone who reads 3 or 4 books a year. And like, you know, last year I actually got him to read a considerable number of the Hugo nominees, and I felt like glad that I'd recommended him things that he'd like. And I'm just thinking, like, what on this year's shortlist can I recommend him that can like stand for what the genre is right now? And
I feel like Ministry of Time would probably be the one that your dad specifically would be interested in like just
maybe.
because of the premise.
Maybe. But so far, novella is the category where I've read the most. I think I'm actually going to finish the novella category pretty soon. I think all I've got left is What Feasts at Night and Tusks of Extinction.
I mean, I would recommend Tusks of Extinction. If you want something that's kind of representative of what's going on in novellas, like sci-fi wise, that's not.
Yeah. So novella has some interesting things in it, but like for what I've read so far, like The Practice, The Horizon, and The Chain is number 1. Like I recommend that highly if you're like an adventurous enough reader. And then I need to pull up the list so I can make sure I'm not forgetting something. The Butcher of the Forest I also liked. I think Navigational Entanglements is coming like 3rd or 4th for me. And why I say that is like because I liked it, but I think it's a book that you maybe need to have a lot of genre context to really really be able to get into it and enjoy it, because it's got like this space fantasy, you know, sci-fi Shanxia magic using clans world building to it that doesn't get fleshed out a lot. And so I think I had enough genre context to be able to figure out what was happening pretty easily. And I'm not sure if all readers will. I did like the romance in it. The romance in her books can be hit or miss for me. Sometimes I like it, sometimes I don't. Her romances often happen very, very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably my only complaint about this one, but it is a novella, so it sort of had to. The characters both made sense to me. They felt flawed in ways that I understood, and I understood why they worked for each other. So I liked it, but it's not sort of on the top of my awardsy list. Let's look at novella. Brides of High Hill, Butcher of the Forest. Yeah. Based on how I felt about the first one, I am assuming What Feasts at Night is going to be the bottom of my list for this, so I'm kind of procrastinating reading it, but looking forward to the Tusks of Extinction.
So I am going into novellas with the idea that things are basically competing against Brides of High Hill, because I really, really enjoyed that. So anything in that category is gonna have to like really like try to go above and beyond the level that Brides of High Hill kind of
I'm
set.
still salty about The City in Glass not being nominated for a Hugo or a Nebula.
I know. That is such bullshit. I think for again, I'm going to be so interested to see the long list because that's when they normally tell us like if something was nominated for something but like didn't meet the rules. And I think with The City in Glass, it was like just over the novella word count.
You think people nominated it in novella?
I think it's a possibility.
Yeah, I feel like people may have nominated it in novella and novel and basically like split the nomination where it wasn't eligible in either category because, or rather, probably the votes for novella or the nominations for novella were scrapped because it isn't eligible in that category, but not enough people nominated it in the novella.
My theory is that just not enough people read it. It was released at the end of the year and no one read it.
See, I would like support that theory unless Niveau wasn't like really like well to be fair, I don't think that release got a lot of like marketing push behind it from the publisher either, because I'm like following Niveau pretty like intensely, like I'm in all the newsletters and all of that stuff, and even I was like, oh yeah, this book is coming out now. But like
I'm remembering that way back when the announcement for it happened, like I totally missed the announcement for it. I didn't know it was happening until you told me.
Yeah.
Then I ran to pre-order it. But
like basically, I do feel like people have been reading it, but like maybe it's like Niveau is very prolific. I actually expect that in future Niveau is gonna have similar status as T. Kingfisher does right now, because like she's building that momentum and people really like her work, and she's getting nominated in the categories, and she has the like she has such interesting stories and world building. So I think it's just gonna take some time. Or maybe that's just my wishful thinking. I'm just like, I just want my favorites to succeed. Is that too much to ask?
Not too much to ask at all. It's what we all
want. Kelsey, have you read anything else?
No. I did. I am about halfway through the final Raksura book, Harbors of the Sun, which I have from the library on ebook. So I have a
very nice. Very nice. I can't wait for you to finish that series, because I mean I will be very sad because then I won't hear your updates.
I will have so much to say in a full video review of that series. I have so many thoughts. It's going to be like an hour-long video, I'm sure.
Yes.
It's going to take me days to film. I'm going to be so grumpy by the time I have the footage, and then I'm not going to want to edit it. But I'm going to have a lot of video.
In that case, looking forward to it, and you should all subscribe to Kelsey's channel so you can get first dibs on the Raksura video when it comes out. And we are moving on to Rachel. What have you been reading?
I think I've only finished like 2 or 3 things since the last live show. I'll talk about what I'm currently reading first. I got 2 things I'm almost done with. I've been working on the last volume of the Planets Omnibus by, who's the author of that again? Makoto Yukimura.
Makoto Yukimura.
You could say it better than I can. Thank you. Which I am very much enjoying. This is a science fiction manga. Kind of a contemplative science fiction manga. I am really enjoying it. I'm sad that it's so short, but I have been assured that other things by this author are also good, so I'll have more to read by him.
Like he is an author who does not miss. Like I've read plenty of his work, and he's like he just like has a way with characterization, especially. Like he understands like seems to understand the human psychology very well, which makes his work really interesting.
I have to say, I really enjoy Planets because it's science fiction. So I am going to try to read the Vinland Saga, But
Yes.
I'm a little disappointed because it's more like historical retelling sort of thing rather than sci-fi. But
it's so interesting.
I
So
know
Vinland Saga is so interesting, and also like the anime does not do Astolat justice. Like the manga Astolat is so good. Like Astolat's like character arc and everything, and the way he pops up, and kind of like how he influences Thorfinn's entire worldview, and is kind of a secondary father figure to like Thor's, even though that's like a whole like it's just like
well, there'll be more to come on that.
yes.
So I am going to be finishing Planets pretty soon. I'm also almost done with Tracker by CJ Cherry. This is the 16th book in the long-running Foreigner series, which is also science fiction. I read these pretty slowly because I'm buddy reading them with a friend, and we take our time discussing them. But long-running series. I super enjoy it, and we're back to some of the alien intrigue in book 16. So, for anybody who has read like the first 9 books and knows what I'm talking about, we finally got back to the aliens. Not the Atebi, the other aliens. So I'm excited about that. And then for what I have actually finished since last time, I read Welcome to the Hyeonamdong Bookshop by Hwang Bo-rum, which is, I don't know if what this genre is. It's basically like Korean cozy bookstore / library fiction, and it's always about, I don't know, people burnt out by work culture in Korea or Japan, if it's the Japanese version, and self-medicating in the library, basically. So this was another one in that vein, and I quite enjoyed it, but it didn't blow me away or anything. It was kind of cute, and the bookshop is still in business by the end of the story, and that's good because, you know, independent bookshops need to be supported. And then I just finished this collection, A Pocket Full of Lies by KJ Charles. This is a collection of her novellas that were previously only available as ebooks, and this collection is only in print. So I got it so that I could read the various other things that aren't novels that she's written. So I finished it, and I quite enjoyed it, except for the last story, which is this completely random, like Sweeney Todd inspired murder investigation thing. It's not even murder investigation. It's cannibalism, okay?
Well, cannibalism is murder.
Yeah,
if you kill the person.
It's, I don't know. I may have skim read a portion of that one because it was not interesting to me. I don't need to read about that kind of body horror stuff. It was the least strong. It was the weakest story in this collection, and I probably would never have picked it up to read it on its own if I hadn't gotten it in this. But the other novellas in here were quite good, and most of them are tie-ins to full-length novels or series that she's written. So I really enjoyed it. KJ Charles is kind of like my go-to queer historical and fantasy romance author, that and Cat Sebastian. So I like that. But the most entertaining and surprising thing that I read was an impulse purchase. I got, I don't know.
I've heard good things about that.
This book was so good. This is Sorcery and Small Magics by Maiga. I'm going to go with Maiga Ducey. I could not find a pronunciation of her name online before, so I probably missed it somewhere. Man, this is supposed to be the beginning of a series, and I am waiting for book 2 to be announced.
Are you obsessed?
It was cute, it was fun, and I was really impressed by the world building in this. The way that the magic system is set up, like, I feel like the author walked that perfect line of doing enough world building, giving you enough details about how the society, the politics, and the magic and like the educational system for magic all work without spoon feeding you a ton of details. Like there's enough trust that you will kind of get it and then realize, oh, some of this stuff is really important for the plot. So I just really enjoyed that. And it's got a little bit of that like grumpy sunshine, enemies to lovers, slow burn romance thing in it, which
Okay.
Yeah.
Small magics, you say?
Yeah, sorcery and small magic. So yeah, I picked this up because I wanted to buy something at one of my favorite bookstores, and I was like, okay, it seems like it's written pretty solidly just from the first page. And it just sucked me in. It was so much better, so much more than I thought it was going to be for a cute fantasy romance thing. Usually this kind of story will be like a standalone novel. I'm interested to see how, like, where it goes from here with it being a series. I suspect it's going to be a trilogy. We might get a lot more in-depth character work and a pretty slow burn romance. So
I have a question about the enemies to lovers thing, because enemies to lovers is kind of like it has a 50-50 chance of succeeding depending on what kind of enemies they start as. So is the relationship something where the enemy part can actually be redeemable and it isn't one of those?
Yes, it's basically they like misunderstand each other.
Okay, good. Because like my personal pet peeve is like for example, one of my favorite enemies to lovers is semantic error, where basically the other person screws the love interest out of a passing grade, forcing him to like repeat his final year in university. That is something you can get past from. And then there are the types where like, okay, this other person is a genocidal villain who burned down my village.
We're not on that level, no. Both
good.
of the characters are good people dealing with their own issues, and the more that they are forced to be around each other. Like they have to be in very close proximity to each other for most of the story for a reason. It drives the plot. As they learn more about each other, I think like they come around being like, oh yeah, we don't really dislike each other. We may have actually kind of really liked each other, but we thought that we needed to not like the other person for whatever reason. So yeah.
Okay, that makes me more optimistic now.
I need at least like a title or an announcement or something for book 2. I'm a bit surprised. I mean, this was only published last year, but I would usually expect like the existence of the next book to have been announced or something. So so that is everything I have read in like the last 2 weeks. So
okay, in that case, I can go ahead with my reading. You'll be happy to know that the pizza delivery man in the Golden Palace has come back for the next season. So once again, I have webtoons to talk about, because I can now read the shittier ones because I have something good to look forward to. But they changed its publication schedule, because normally it has been that every chapter releases every Wednesday, so you get once a week. Now they changed it so that it only releases on the 8th, 18th, and 28th of each month. And I'm like, what? I get less chapters now.
Only 3 chapters a month?
Only 3 chapters a month, which I understand. I feel like it is to protect also the author's health, because like the webtoon industry is brutal, similarly to how the manga industry is brutal, and these artists and authors are overworked literally to the bone for measly pay. So in that sense, I am happy that they are relaxing the publication schedule so that like the author can actually like focus on not working themselves to death. But Pizza Delivery Man is so good, and there has been that trope which is very often the case in Korean dramas and these kinds of Korean romance tropes stories, where if you have a main character who is poor or indebted, they usually have a horrible parent figure who will show up in the story to either try and blackmail them or do some very horrible shenanigans in order to like extort them. And this happened in Pizza Delivery Man as well. And I was so happy when that storyline got wrapped up, and I'm like, I never have to see this asshole father ever again. I'm so happy. I don't condone people getting run over by a car, but this is like the justified response for like this. The way that arc was handled basically like retroactively redeemed a lot of the K-dramas where one of my like pet peeves has been that the child always has to forgive the shitty parent. And in this, there is no forgiveness. It's like the consequences of your actions will come to bite you in the ass. And I was like,
there's
yes,
just an accident.
well, he should have seen that car coming. What can I say? But like it's very good. And if you are squeamish about the smut aspect, there is also like there's the full version, and then there's the version where the more graphic elements of the sexual nature of the series
Wait,
are.
I didn't really remember this was a smutty webtoon.
Oh yeah. It's a very smutty. There is no closed doors or fade to black in this
How
series
many spicy peppers would you give this?
unless you read the edited version that is more family friendly. I personally just read the full version, but there is the edited version, and there's a disclaimer that if you want the if you want the story that is like the full story with no edits to these scenes, please go read the full version. But yeah, and then there's the awful ones. I don't know why I'm doing this to myself. I guess because the other one ended, the betrayal of dignity. I now have to betray my own dignity in other ways. So I'm reading Fly Me to the Moon. Which is it's a vampire story that is not really, they are not really vampires, but they're basically like, they're called clansmen, and they have these like supernatural powers. Like they're vampires, but they're not vampires.
I'm sorry, clansmen?
Yeah, they're called the clansmen because like every single, they're like basically like every single one of them, they're like in these big families, and they run corporations, and they're essentially like crime boss families with supernatural powers.
Okay, so it's supernatural mob.
So it's not
Yes.
it's not KKK clan.
Yeah.
No,
like,
it's clan with it's clan with a C. It's clan with a C. Yes, and also yeah. Anyway, my issue with that series is that one of my pet peeves is the whole like the main female character consistently repeats, I want to be strong, I need to get stronger, and then she does nothing to do either of those things. She does not get stronger, and she does not work to get stronger, and she has to consistently be saved by her man. And the worst thing is
physically strong or like get through life mentally strong?
Both, yes.
Oh, okay.
And she gets turned, you know, at the start of the series she gets turned. So there are these two brothers who are both vying for her affection.
Of course.
And it's kind of toxic. And the other one turns her, but the other one steps in to actually like save her through the process of turning, because it's actually like for a human it's very like a traumatic experience to turn into this clansman entity, etc. Because normally they are like born. You can like the turning, like you can't always like turn into one. you have to be born as well. It's weird. The whole, like, don't even get me started on the world building. It's absolutely shite. Like, I feel like the person has read so many Omegaverse novels or Omegaverse fiction, but did not want to commit to making this an Omegaverse thing. But it so clearly is an Omegaverse thing with just serial numbers filed off.
Well, I mean, if they made it too obvious, they'd probably get sued.
But it's worse because
No, Omegaverse, you can't get sued over that. We already had that lawsuit.
But what is even worse is that this is straight Omegaverse, not like even queer Omegaverse. It's straight Omegaverse or Omegaverse. But you have the whole thing of like them imprinting on each other and having this bond, and then like having this there's the whole heat thing and
Oh,
anyway.
so this is Stephanie Meyer Omegaverse.
Yeah,
like Omegaverse crossed with the Vampire Diaries and Twilight.
It's
Like,
so,
oh my god,
it's so bad. But like my main, and also I don't mind even spoiling this because I actually do not want anyone to go and read this. If you want, you can, but like I just want you to go in with like informed consent.
Nobody wants to read it. We just want to hear you recap it.
So all things considered, the main female character gets pregnant to the other brother who did not turn her. So she's pregnant, but the pregnancy is gonna kill her. You know,
So
because yeah, because she's like a human that got turned instead of like the full Klansman person.
Oh, no,
you
so
know.
this is like Twilight crossed with whatever happened in ACOTAR. With...
Yeah. And so here comes my pet peeve with this series, this is the trope what I despise, is that when the female character, or actually any character who can get pregnant and is pregnant, and the baby needs to save them, because the person who is pregnant does not have any real power. The power comes from the baby, because the baby is the one who has the supernatural abilities. So they will protect the mother. And I'm like, fuck off. I hate this.
that.
I hate this so much.
Miss Ma'am, what are you doing?
Renee, all of those other pet peeves, like I can live with those, but this is the thing that, like, this is the one thing that I detest. Like that is the one that makes my blood actively boil. All of the other ones, they just kind of bring it to a simmer.
Oh, I'm so glad
well,
we're
it is
getting our
Korean.
regular
It is
dose of
Korean,
Ethnic
so you know,
tunes.
like, conservative is kind of unless it's critiquing capitalism, but like otherwise very, like, in terms of gender roles and expectations, yes, very conservative. So yeah, those have been the webtoons, but I have been reading other things. So I finished this volume. This is a one-shot by Nagabe called Eat. And I was actually wondering, because like out of the four of us, at least three of us now have read things that have to do with eating something or cannibalism or like other things. So this story, also, I just appreciate the fact that Nagabe has decided to go full furry. Like, it was basically like the girl from the other side is like, you have the fantasy demon furry things, and in their other stories, there's always been at least one human character. But now these last couple of stuff that I've been reading have been like, yeah, you know, it's we're all furry now. There's no humans. We're committing fully to the furry bit, and I kind of respect that. But in any case, this is essentially set in university. The main character, Lufrian, is a teacher, a law professor at the university, and then this guy Gula is a first-year college student there, and basically it's about this guy's eating kink. He loves to watch people eat. He loves the act of eating, not necessarily the food itself, but just looking at how people eat and how teeth crush food, etc. But
I'm sorry, is this vorophilia?
Yeah. And what he really wants is to have someone eat him specifically.
Oh,
He
this
wants
is totally
to be
Morphilia.
he wants to be eaten. And then you get introduced to
I'm
this
still
guy.
feeling too queasy for this, Rhea.
Oh no.
But it does not go into
Not
like, this is
helping.
very soft though. It does not go into graphic detail. If you want to have babies first warphilia to introduce yourself to what that kink is like, this is a very safe option.
I'm talking about my medical condition.
I'm
I'm
sorry.
too queasy to think about unusual eating.
But in any case, it's kind of like, I wouldn't even call it a romance. It's just, this is a volume that is like exploration of kink and the shame you feel around it and kind of overcoming the shame, and like coming into your own. It was surprising. I'm not even sure if I think I gave this 3 stars. It was okay. But I was like curious because I saw people talking about this on Instagram and I was like, okay, Nagabe, what do you have in store for me now? This is like so out of the ordinary of what I expected from them. But at the same time, like, this is like...
How did he go from Girl from the Other Side to Vor?
That's a good question.
Not just Vor, furry Vor.
See, the furry thing is less surprising to me here. Because well, like, if you look at
teacher from Girl from the Other Side was definitely, aren't monsters kind of hot?
Yeah, exactly. The whole thing with Nagabe is that as an author, they have always been into monsters. So we already knew that they were a monster fucker, and now we have confirmation that they're also a furry monster fucker.
I want to be clear. There's no bonking of the monsters in Girl from the Other Side.
Yeah, that's a family friend. Like, I feel like and even this one, this is very soft. There is no explicit content in this. It's more about the psychology more than anything else. This is not explicit at all. But it just goes through the psychology. It was actually pretty interesting. Not my favorite thing from Nagabe, to be sure, but I'm just kind of really liking their like artistic trajectory of the work that they've been doing, because like this is they basically are going kind of the to the BL route of what Paru Itagaki is doing with her work with B-stars and stuff. This is kind of the same ballpark, but more on the BL side of things. And then what
do you think of the artwork in it, though? Because that's the one thing, like, why I would pick up more by Nagabe, because I really liked the style in Girl from the Other Side.
It's very much like similar to Girl from the Other Side. I do feel like it is less sketchy. Like, it still has that Nagabe quality from Girl from the Other Side that is lots of like inks, very painterly, very sketchy. And stuff, but I do feel like the art is a little bit more like polished, if that makes sense. So yeah, I think it's very good. And then the other thing that I have started reading now, because the anime is coming out soon, is The Summer Hikaru Died. So I read the first volume. This is basically a horror queer manga series. So it takes place in this small village and small town during a summer, and these high school students, Yoshiki and Hikaru, are spending the summer together, and they're like childhood friends. And Yoshiki realizes that Hikaru is not the Hikaru he knows. And it turns out that this Hikaru is a copy of, like, the original Hikaru has died, and this is some other entity. And it, like, there's this implication that it is a dangerous entity, and it's kind of like a psychological thing of like, okay, what is gonna happen if Yoshiki accepts him as part of his life and continues to be around him, and what that means for the rest of the town and the villagers and all of this stuff. And it's all about this, like, well, there's a lot of queer yearning, and there's a lot of like unresolved feelings, because clearly Yoshiki had some feelings for the original Hikaru, and there's kind of this idea that he's not ready to let go, and he's not ready to accept the death of Hikaru. So he's kind of like living through his essentially queer yearning with this doppelganger, and that might have like some dangerous implications. The first volume is really good, and I actually agree. It's like Heartstopper meets The Thing. I think the emphasis is more with The Thing than Heartstopper. It's I have not felt that, like, I have a feeling that it's not gonna be very wholesome, but I am really like liking it so far. And the art style is really cool. Like so. And you find out really quickly that the Hikaru is a doppelganger and stuff. And then the rest of it is kind of like goes through like or starts to kind of go through like what is happening in the town, and like how the presence of this fake Hikaru is kind of like influencing things and stuff. Like really cool. So I'm eagerly waiting to get the next volumes from the library, but understandably, because the anime is coming out soon on Netflix, there is a lot of people also waiting in line to read the next volume. So, and then the final thing that I have been reading is, let me just quickly. So the final thing that I'm currently reading, I'm still like approximately like 25% through, is Anthony Lowenstein's The Palestine Laboratory: How Israel Exports the Technology of Occupation Around the World. And I'm listening this on audio, and it's been really good. I'm learning things that I did not want to know, like, for example, that my own country is also providing like this drone detection and drone drone jamming software, so that you can intercept drones before they hit. So that's been very fun to realize that, like, that my own country is even more complicit than I had previously realized. So fun times, indeed not. Like I knew that, like, so like Finland is like buying military technology from Israel, but I did not know before I have been reading this book that we're actually also selling military technology. So that's been fun to find out. And yeah, that's all I have been reading. So I think we're making very good time, so we can talk about. Do we want to talk about the nebulas now?
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to talk about with what I'm watching. It's mostly Murderbot and Leverage.
Yeah, me too. Murderbot and Andor. So
I still haven't watched Andor. I've been watching a lot of anime though. For example, the Kowloon generic romance, which Ramsey is talking about.
I did finally start watching the Apothecary Diaries. I am hooked.
Yes, yes. And the second season is better. It took
me about 5 episodes to go, okay, I can kind of see why people like these characters so much. And now I'm like, well, binge.
Like I really love Mao Mao. Like she is very good. She's also slightly autistic coded, and she's just an awesome character. And this is also what I mean when I want like interesting, well written female characters who have like their own interests outside of men. Like, she is so clearly competent and has like this specialty, and it makes perfect sense.
She's so much smarter than most of the people around her.
Yes, but I love that series as well. I'm so happy that like people are watching it more. Did you finish Frieren?
I did not, but it's on Netflix now. I started watching it on Crunchyroll, and then I let my subscription go. So I will be resuming it.
Yes, Frieren is so good. Like, what I love about Frieren especially is like all of the small details that they include in the animation. Like, for example, when someone puts their coat on or puts on their cloak, and the draping and everything and the gravity of it is just, it's just so good. Like just for the animation, it's candy. Is there anything in the Nebulas except the novel?
I mean, I think there's some. I thought it was interesting that a self-pubbed book won the Andre Norton. Like, I think that's pretty interesting. I don't think that's happened before. I haven't read it, so I don't have any opinion.
So the Dragonfly Gambit. So Neon Hemlock published novella won the best novella category in the Nebula. So that's cool.
Of all of the Neon Hemlock novellas that were eligible, because I think I read all of them from that publication year. That was
that's the one that you would not
absolute
wanted?
least favorite. I'm like, come on, Transitive Properties of Cheese was right there. And instead we have this very short novella, which is basically rage, kill everybody, rage. I know there's more to it than that. I'm not trying to be super flippant, but I did not like the way that story was framed. But I also know I don't like a lot of stories that are essentially built on anger. And that may also be my problem with Why Don't We Kill the Kid in the Omelas Hole? It's another one that's just like the story is secondary to the rage, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway.
And then I do find it interesting that the in the novel and novella categories, at least in a lot of these, there was not that much overlap with the Hugo categories. Like for example, in best novel, there's like Sorceress Comes to Call, and then someone you can build a nest in, and that's it. So I'm actually pleasantly pleased with that, even if we like in case of the winner in the novel category, like a lot of the people in this group are not necessarily too happy about that.
I think there tends to be a larger overlap in the ballot overall between the two when the Nebula nominees come out in advance of nominations for Hugo Awards. I think you can see that, like, especially in the short fiction categories, people like flock to the Nebula shortlist to be like, oh, I should maybe try reading these things that some people liked, and then it makes its way to the next award. But I mean, I do that myself, so
I mean, I think it also makes sense, like that. Like some of these awards are kind of like influencing people's reading in a way, because like for full disclosure, I also find a lot of my reading through these awards, which is also why I'm very eagerly waiting for the Ignite Award shortlist.
Ignite Awards shortlist is guaranteed to be more interesting.
Oh, for sure, because they actually have like Ignite Awards has an actual like jury, and then they have like they have some input from the public, but I think they actually have like a jury who goes through and with what to like curate the shortlist.
Ignite is the juried shortlist. Nebulas is anyone who's a member of Swiftwa. Hugos are the popularity contest, and also
well, to be clear, Nebula Awards and Hugo Awards are both popular choice awards, just for their niche communities.
Yeah, so. And then World Fantasy Award is also a juried award.
Ow. I stabbed myself.
I have not read the T. Kingfisher book, so I don't know. That's probably what I'll pick up next from the best novel shortlist.
I've heard good things about it, but at the same time, I'm a little bit T. Kingfishered out right now.
That's like kind of how I am, and it's.
I I read a lot of books last year that I personally liked but didn't feel were awardsy. Books published last year, and that A Sorceress Comes to Call was one of them.
Yeah, it's with A Sorceress Comes to Call with T. Kingfisher. I feel like it's getting to the point that I'm at with John Scalzi, like not to the extreme, but it's like getting there where it's like he publishes a book and I'm already like kind of resigned that it's going to have a spot on the short list.
See, I have that thing with Seanan McGuire in addition
Yeah.
to Scalzi.
Aside from
is
Besties,
that
this
I'm
a very Seanan McGuire light.
yeah. I'm like I kind of have this like feeling in general, like if an author is like super prolific and then they publish like in many different categories every single year, and then they get nominated in a lot of those categories, I tend to get like, okay, fatigue. Like it happens with Scalzi, it has started to happen with T. Kingfisher as well. And yeah, Seanan McGuire, I think, is because she's just so prolific. Like you can't take a step in the woods without getting smacked by one of her books.
Yeah, it will be, and yeah, it's. I will say I've like barely read any new releases, like 2025 releases, so I have like no idea what's going to be on any Hugo contention. The only one I like know I'm going to be pushing for is What the River Knows. If Scalzi doesn't recuse 2 spots, I'm going to be like, I think I might start something where you can only be on one short list, like one time on a short list. Like start that Hugo campaign to modify the
Wait,
Hugo
does Scalzi
bylaw.
have 2 books coming out this year?
He had When the Moon Hits Your Eye that came out earlier this year, and then he has another Old Man's War novel coming out this summer.
Which I'm looking forward to. I think I'm kind of I have his lighter, cheesier fare has not been doing it for me. But yes, the Shattering Piece. I super enjoyed the Old Man's War series. There was one of them that was not good, Zoe's Tale, I think. But otherwise, that's his best work. Like, I feel like when he goes back to write those novels, they're going to be good. I like them. Also, Lock-In, the first
Lock-In
novel was also really interesting,
head.
and I thought it was pretty solid.
Yeah.
But I don't need more talking cats. I don't need more kaiju, even though I enjoyed that one. And I don't know if I'm going to read the Moon one.
Have you heard of the Ursula Le Guin Awards?
Yeah, the Ursula Le Guin Awards been running for a couple of years now. I haven't followed them. I started to the first year, but I have not. Honestly, a lot of the stuff that gets nominated for it is not really in my wheelhouse. It's just not what I typically gravitate towards.
Who organizes those? Like, is it a community organized?
Yeah, it's her state.
Okay. So I would assume that the kind of like the focus is on like feminist and subversive science fiction and speculative work.
So to be eligible, a book must also be a book-length work of imaginative fiction written by a single author, written in the U.S. in English or in translation, published in the specific window. So they haven't announced their short list. They're in the process of, let me double check. Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, so they announced the selection panel, but they haven't announced the short list. So the panel this year is Matt Bell, who's one of his books was shortlisted for the Le Guin Award, Indra Das, who wrote The Devourers, Kelly Link, Sequoia Nagamatsu, who wrote How High We Go in the Dark.
Yeah.
And then Rebecca Roanhorse. So that's actually, like, it's a pretty good panel.
Yeah. Sounds interesting.
So I'll be interested to see. I know Angela's been reading the Le Guin Awards, and
Mm-hmm.
I know she really generally likes the shortlist that comes out of that.
Then there was another one about the Hugo fatigue. Martha Wells too, though I'm a huge fan. I actually think Martha Wells is a little bit different because Martha Wells knows when to recuse herself. She does not accept nominations for example, when Murderbot would have been eligible, I think, was it last year or something, but she recused herself.
She turns down for System Collapse because Witch King was also nominated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she usually always recuses herself for a work that has already been nominated or has won. Like, for example, in the case of the Murderbot, and then rather takes the spot with a work that is completely new. So it's a little bit different. And I think she has also recused herself before, like if she has, that one year when she won a Hugo for I think for Murderbot, and then next year I think she recused.
Yeah, she recused from Best Novella for some for subsequent Murderbots, because I think she was like, look, I won for Best Novella. I know, I don't think I need to keep being nominated.
Did she recuse for Fugitive Telemetry as well, or just System Collapse?
I think she did. Fugitive Telemetry was... I'm double checking something. Give me a sec.
Martha Wells is kind of the reason I now have this expectation that authors will do the gracious thing and recuse if they're getting too many nominations. I don't know if it was if anyone was doing that before her.
There was the tradition in fanzine where the fanzine winner would recuse from the next year.
But that did not extend to many other categories. I mean, the same person won the same professional artist category for how many years in a row?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so it was Fugitive Telemetry that she declined a nomination for. So that was... It actually got the most nominations, but she declined.
Yeah, that is basically my idea that kind of behavior should be applauded and brought up every time, that this is great. I actually for example, I understand that with the Chengdu and everything, that there was a lot of ill will afterwards, and it was a little bit of a different year for the winners as well after Chengdu. So I kind of, in a sense, understand that T. Kingfisher did not recuse herself for Sorcerer Comes to Call after winning Nettle and Bone.
Well, they're also not in the same series. They're totally unrelated books.
They're totally unrelated books, but okay. Can I say something brave yet controversial here about T. Kingfisher? When you've read one T. Kingfisher, you have read practically all the T. Kingfishers. She is very imaginative with her humor and stuff, but and writes interesting things, but they are mostly in line with the tone and the types of stuff she writes. There are the same work. So if we're gonna criticize Scalzi for taking spots, then we should also extend that to T. Kingfisher, even if she writes standalones.
It's interesting though. Her style, I think, has really changed over time.
I mean, what she publishes now, if anybody read Nine Goblins back in the day, she's come a long way.
Nine Goblins is getting a Tor.com release.
Oh, they're re-releasing it?
Yeah, they just announced
it
last week.
I read The Raven and the Reindeer finally in December, and that's one of her older fairy tale books, and I was just very struck by the style of it being somewhat different from her more recent work. And so not all Take Kingfishers are the same, but she has a lot of like very clear sort of trademarks to her writing.
Yes.
Renee brings up a good point. If you win one year, you carry a lot of momentum with you into the next year in the fan categories. This works better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's the similar thing as with like when different cities or countries win the bid. Like for example, when Ireland won and Dublin hosted, you got a lot of like Irish works in the like long list, and people like there was more awareness for Irish work, similar to like Nordic Nordic SFF got a huge boost after in visibility after Helsinki, and now I think also with like Glasgow last year, I feel like there was more of a push for like Scottish authors in like SFF. For a bit, though a
British,
little bit
I mean.
less so, I would say. I think like with Helsinki and Dublin, there was a lot more of that
Mhm.
like push. But maybe it's just that like Scotland kind of gets lumped in with UK publishing in general.
I think it does. Like talking with some friends
Oh
over
my
in Scotland, that's kind of the case, and I think there's kind of more of a crime fiction culture in Scotland.
Ramsey, you can't say something so true, but like I love Makoto Shinkai, but also he has been doing the same movie in different fonts for a while now.
Yeah, I guess Renee just said, I guess I can live with authors getting nominated year after year, I guess, because authors don't control when things publish, but please don't let multiple nominations in the same category become a thing. Yeah, like
Yes.
yeah. I would say I much rather have an author be nominated year after year than have one author take 2 or 3 nominations in one category year
Mhm.
after year. Like that just feels like a recipe for stagnating all of the categories and making them very homogeneous.
Yeah, I'm hoping that there was enough griping and pushback over Tchaikovsky having 2 nominations this year that it kind of puts pause to anyone else who might be thinking of it.
I should hope so. And what else? If we want to talk about media, I watched a really interesting movie. It is a Korean animated movie called Lost in Starlight that just got released on Netflix. I'm not sure if I would say that it is good, but it is basically kind of a science fiction romance where the main female character, her mother was an astronaut and went on a Mars mission, and then the Mars mission was disastrous and she didn't come back, and then she wants to go to Mars, kind of follow in her footsteps, and then she has like this relationship, like romantic relationship with a musician who and who is kind of like supporting her, and it's so cute. It's so cute. Like scientifically, it does not make sense in a lot of ways. Like the first thing when she goes off alone with a rover in the Mars thing, and I'm like, I don't think that's safe. You should never go alone. I think that these are kind of the situations where you go at least one other person. But I'll allow it for the plot, I guess. But like in terms of like animation, it was so good. Like it's so pretty. Like it's so nice to look at, and I love that we are getting more like actual mainstream publications from animation studios outside of just Japan. Another series that I have been watching is To Be Hero X, which is a Chinese animation. It's currently released on Crunchyroll, but it's a Chinese superhero action animation, and it's doing the most trying to fight the Chinese censors. For example, with like there is a queer storyline which basically like goes like, and they were friends.
Hey.
And then they show like rainbow magnets and the the gay flag magnet on this guy's fridge, but they were friends. Just
Wait,
friends.
Ramsey
What is
wants to
this
know what I
about
think
Ryan
of the
Gosling in
Ryan
Star Wars?
Gosling Star Wars movie. Here's the thing. I will
Ryan
not
Gosling is in a
believe it
Star Wars movie?
exists until we get a trailer. And even then, I feel like we've just been like burned so many times when it comes to movies after Rise of Skywalker. Like they keep announcing stuff and then just it doesn't happen.
Do we
so many
need
things
Ryan
just get
Gosling in
dropped.
Star Wars though?
That's it. Like I will probably watch it because I am a Star Wars fan, but like I don't really have any expectations for like, is it going to be good? I know it's going to be taking place after Rise of Skywalker, so who knows? Maybe like Kelly Marie Tran will show up as Rose, which actually that could be interesting. I think like
have they announced Gosling's character or anything about his character?
Apparently he's like protecting his nephew.
I just felt that Disney could have done something funny and made him like into a droid character, and just, because you're never expecting Ryan Gosling's just voice. They're always banking on Ryan Gosling's like the whole package, so it would have been like super funny if he was just a droid.
I will say I prefer Ryan Gosling to Ryan Reynolds. Like
yes,
it's not hard.
yeah. This. Like speaking of fatigue, like I have so like, has Ryan Reynolds ever been funny?
I don't know.
Because like okay, so I enjoyed Deadpool like the first like, but I don't think I enjoy them because Ryan Reynolds is in them. I kind is despite Ryan Reynolds. Which is bad.
I feel like both Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively exist they're very pretty, and that's kind of it for me.
Like, yeah.
I don't even follow them, and I'm tired of hearing about both of them. So
I will say, do we have to do a similar thing for Ryans as we have with Chris? Are there enough Ryans in the world to do the best and worst Ryan ranking? So we have Ryan Reynolds and Ryan Gosling. Are there any other Ryans we should know about? There's like a multitude of Chris's. It seems like every year we get a new one.
Started watching recently. I can't remember if I talked about before, but Game Changer is back on Dropout. I'm very excited this season. It's been very funny. I will say, like, nothing is ever going to top the premiere 1 year later, because that was just like perfection. But the latest episode was really funny, and everyone was on their A game, and it was good. I really enjoy Game Changer and Dropout. It's the best $6 I spend every month.
Nice.
No, like, they have so many different things, and they do a good job of putting out a variety of content and having it be consistent. And behind the scenes, they do a good job of like compensating their, like, not just the on-camera talent, but they also do a good job of compensating the crew, and they have a profit sharing model as well. Anyway,
I'm not sure what Game Changer is about though.
So Game Changer is a game show, but the rules change every episode, and the people who are participating don't know what the rules are until it starts. So
oh no,
if you go to
that would be horrible.
They have some free episodes. So like there's one of the classics is Sam Says, so it's a version of Simon Says. But like Sam is kind of like this chaos gremlin, and so it'll be things where he'll like try and trick them. So that one's good. Another really excellent one was second place. So you weren't trying to win, you were trying to get second place. And it was like specifically designed to fuck with Brennan Lee Mulligan. He like always has to try his best and win.
I could not watch this. I have had nightmares about not knowing the rules of games. Like, I don't know what I'm doing, so it's not terrible. No.
I feel like if I was in a situation where every single time I would have to learn new rules, my brain would just short circuit immediately. Like, I'm one of the people, like, if you put me in a board game learning situation, I need video tutorials and stuff to make me absorb.
Well, they have other things too. So they have another game show called Actually, where it's a trivia game where they'll read you a piece of trivia, but something's off, and so you have to buzz in and go, actually, this is the correct statement, or like this thing is wrong.
God.
There's Smarty Pants, which is basically like funny PowerPoint party.
This is all from the same people.
I have seen one episode of Smarty Pants. If it's what I'm thinking of it, the Hank Green is on it. Yeah. And there
are better ones in Smarty Pants. Like there was one from the first season that Grant O'Brien did that was all about roller coasters. So like he was funny, but it was also like very informative about different types of roller coasters. And like
I like the ones where like they were actually kind of informative.
Oh yeah, this was that just... like he did a very good job of talking about like how roller coasters are designed, like the perfect hang time, like when you like go down a hill and you kind of like levitate out of your seat.
Oh, I remembered I watched another thing. How could I forget this?
Go ahead.
Not SFF related, but I did watch Department Q on Netflix right after it dropped. This is a contemporary Scottish murder mystery series. It's actually a remake of a Swedish series based on a book series, I believe.
What series?
The show is called Department Q. I don't know what it was called before. Anyway, I just randomly decided to watch the first episode because Matthew Good plays the really snarky detective. Like, he's got a chip on his shoulder. He's got issues. And I really like Matthew Good. And then it turns out that, I swear, like, half the cast of the show came over from Annika, which is another Scottish murder mystery show that I really liked. And it's like they just took like all the Scottish actors from that series because it's not continuing and brought them over to this one. I adored it. I watched all 9 episodes in a row and I stayed up until 3 a.m. to finish it, which I do not recommend doing.
This on Netflix?
It's on Netflix, yeah. I believe it is a Netflix production, actually. So I really, really liked it, and I hope that it comes back for a season 2.
Well, Netflix is a merciless mistress.
I know they may not, but it concerns one mystery throughout all 9 episodes, but it manages to keep up like the momentum, and it ends in a way where it's like, okay, this could be a 1-season thing, but now that they've got a whole crew of people together in their department, they could have a season 2. So, and Scottish people curse so much.
Yes,
so much.
Yes, I think that has been well established. Rock is a lady's modesty. Yes, I have been interested in that. Unfortunately, the place that it is streamed at is Amazon Prime, and I am trying to avoid everything to do with Amazon. So I will see if I can find some venue where I can watch it, but it's not gonna be on Amazon. What else? There was Kelsey. Have you been watching anything? Well, you've been watching Murderbot, I assume.
All I have watched is the most recent 2 episodes of Murderbot. I'm willing to discuss them at length. I need to go to the kitchen to get some more Gatorade first, though. Give me a moment.
No spoilers though for Murderbot. I am still hyping myself up to actually watch it.
Ray,
so-
you've read the book. It's not going to be spoilers.
Well,
They are
yeah, but
changing
like
some
other
things, though.
people, there are other people who are watching
Okay.
who might also have not
Okay.
read the books.
We can be relatively spoiler free.
I think I'm gonna lose Yarn Chicken.
I mean, I'm still not sold on Alexander Skarsgård, but I watched a reel where he gets dressed as Murderbot, and it seemed to be a very work intensive process, and also he really leaned into his Swedish accent. So now I'm more amenable to the idea. I'm still not happy about it, but I'm more amenable and open to watching him as Murderbot. Because like all the behind the scenes stuff with Alexander Skarsgård, like he's a funny guy, but like he's also just like too good looking. He's too tall and too good looking and too Viking-y to like be a generic security bot.
The thing is, he just does not look like something that a robot factory would put out for the lowest
Exactly.
dollar. Like
He's not generic enough.
yeah.
Like this is where like I'm not putting this out there in the universe, but this is the place where you would cast Chris Pratt.
No.
Oh!
No, not
I'm not saying I want that, but if you
No,
want
here's
something
something,
like Chris Pratt, not
Yeah,
Chris
no,
Pratt.
I'm not saying I'm saying this with a caveat. I do not want to see that, but I'm just saying if you want something that looks like a person who is a generic person pasted from a factory line that has zero personality, Chris Pratt is the person for the job.
Oh,
The thing is though, Murderbot does have personality, so that's the place where it would not work. But in terms of like appearance,
I just want to say I think episode 4 was very nearly perfect. I needed something very, very specific from that scene, and not only did it deliver, it over-delivered.
isn't over delivery a good thing?
Yes. That whole episode is an expansion of basically like 6.5 pages in the middle of the book, and they made it into a whole episode and gave us a Sanctuary Moon theme song.
Okay,
Ooh.
I'll admit I really cringe with the Sanctuary Moon insert stuff. It's so intentionally bad. I get secondhand embarrassment.
John
watching
Cho looks
it.
really good though. Like he looks very good.
I will say
Here I am, I got my
anything
Sanctuary Moon mug too.
like for example in Expanse, I loved all of the things that they did with branding, marketing, and all of that kind of stuff. It just makes the world so much more lived in. And then in Loki, when they had the time police and they have that 60s animated like mascot, like all of that stuff is like, I love that. It's like candy to me.
Yeah, but Sanctuary Moon is just the epitome of bad TV.
So
I loved the way they specifically implemented it in episode 4, though. I don't know if I can talk about it without spoilers, if you really don't want to be spoiled for changes from the book.
I would rather not be spoiled.
Okay. So the just what episode 4 is the like. I have my copy of the book right here. I can tell you what pages it is.
I've lost track. Is episode 4 at the Delt Fall habitat? Is that what we're talking about? Okay.
Yeah, it's like pages 70 to 76 of the book. And it's where it's at the Delt Fall habitat, and it's where Dr. Mensa rescues Murderbot. And like I needed that to be good personally, and it was.
I mean, the most badass scene in that entire episode is when Mensa comes in. I'm like, you go, girl.
And I do think like I was sort of holding out for this in hopes that what they were doing with making the preservation crew seem less competent than they are is that we were getting sort of Murderbot's perspective on them, because Murderbot doesn't think that they're competent.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel vindicated in holding out for that because of how they did that scene where it's like, my poor helpless humans have no or going no, I don't remember what the line is exactly, but it's like, my poor helpless humans, they're going to be slaughtered, and then Mensa comes in with the drill.
I will say Rothy is a poor helpless human. Like,
I would say Rothy, nothing is going to excuse them turning Rothy into somebody who doesn't understand trigger safety. Like, I'm sorry. What? What?
It is very on brand for him, though, to try to rush into a situation that he should not be rushing into.
I don't feel like it's on brand for him to have like slept through weapons training, though.
Maybe not.
See? What do you mean he didn't do the training? What do you mean Mensa didn't stand over him and make sure that he did it?
So
he's
here's
an
the
adult.
thing. As someone who has had to take part in plenty of corporate trainings, and usually on a deadline, you just go through them and click, and just like hope for the best and like get through the quizzes and are like, okay, I'm done. And then you can't remember half of the stuff that they covered.
How is he so bad at weapons safety, though, given how many games he's played?
You don't worry about weapon safety in the games.
Yeah. Weapon safety is never discussed in any game.
And where not to point it.
Also, games are a fantasy. You get the gun and you are already an expert.
Yeah.
You start out as an expert. You don't start with training. You go out guns blazing. That's the whole point of the game. So you die a couple of times and then you come back and start all over.
But then I finally watched episode 5 last night, and this is where they introduce a new character, and what?
Let's not do spoilers.
You don't spoil it for me, because I am watching it in a couple of hours.
I'm not going to spoil anything. I'm not going to say anything other than they introduce a new character. I have a theory about where this is going, but I could be wrong.
It could be bunnies.
It could. What? Is that a reference to something? I'm not.
Yeah, it's a reference to the Buffy musical episode where the former demon Anya, who does not like bunnies, they're having a song about like what might be causing them to sing, and her theory is bunnies.
Also,
Anyways,
it's a really good episode in Buffy.
It is a very good episode. It gets referenced in the Strange New Worlds musical episode.
Oh, absolutely, yes. Yeah.
But for how much
I love James Marsters as well in that series specifically. And in is it Torchwood?
Yeah, he was in Torchwood as one of Jack's exes.
I'm sorry,
Yes.
what?
Yeah, he was in Torchwood season 2 as one of Jack's exes. It was a thing.
Yeah. James
Oh,
Mar-
I think I didn't watch all of season 2. Okay, that explains that.
James Marsters was in Torchwood.
Torchwood is one of those series where, like, I am super fond of it, but also I do not necessarily want to rewatch because I'm worried it's going to be hit with the suck fairy.
I am also quickly gonna address what Renee is saying. So, speaking of the Expanse, is anyone going to play the game? Expanse Osiris Reborn. So yeah, Osiris Reborn is gonna be kind of like a tactical RPG, kind of in the vein of Mass Effect, but not quite. From what I read from the announcement, and it actually does sound interesting. Let's see. I'm not sure because I've like Allcat Games is like developing it, so I'm not sure if I've ever played anything from them before. But it looks good, like so far. Looks interesting. But we'll have to wait for the like actual gameplay trailers and stuff. Looks Mass Effecty in terms of like how it's like played. Or like how the teaser trailer portrays it. I'm just salty that like Expanse got taken off. Like Expanse is now not in any streaming service basically because Amazon Prime took Expanse off their platform.
I think it's still on. It's just the early seasons aren't there.
I mean,
yeah, I think for the licensing, yeah. But like,
well,
this
when
is
it was on Sci-Fi, they probably don't have that anymore.
Yeah, but the so this is just another call to action of like, if you like a series, get the physical media because streaming sucks.
Discourse. Yes, I have seen it, and I am feeling vindicated. I am vindicated for my dislike of that man.
Oh, are we talking about the new Doctor? First of all, I think Shruti got what got done dirty because like I actually came back to Doctor Who for a little bit because he was on it, and then they do this.
So here's the thing, I have been an RTD skeptic / borderline hater for years because I think while Stephen Moffat's misogyny was more upfront, RTD's misogyny like annoyed me more because it was so insidious. Because RTD could not conceptualize a woman being fulfilled without a man. Like if you think through his original companions, Rose gets 10-2. Martha, all of it, like she gets engaged to a guy she just met, and then with nothing, the engagement's broken off, and she ends up with Mickey, who she shared like one scene with. And then Donna's makes more sense because she actually did want to get married and have a family, but like there's that. And in Torchwood, you have Gwen and her husband, and then Tosh dies, but her whole thing was like wanting to be with Owen and like being sad that Owen didn't see her as someone to pursue romantically. There was a review of his series It's a Sin talking about how the women were either like perfect angels or like there was no complexity to the female characters. And then I heard about what happened with Belinda, and I'm just like, I am vindicated as someone who thinks that RTD is actually shit at writing female characters, and particularly characters of color.
So I'm basically like when it comes to Moffat, because I've seen the Sherlock series, which is like my Moffat hate boner started specifically with Sherlock, like, and like I feel like Moffat is the kind of person who like if we talk about in the abstract, like if we talk about like sexism and stuff and kind of the misogyny of it all, like Moffat is the like his misogyny in his series is more overt and like almost like he revels in it in a way. Like every single female character is like viewed from the male lens, and female characters can only be empowered through their proximity to a man and like outwitting a man in a sense, and even that is usually undermined. Like the man has to always shine. Like take Irene Adler for example, and how Moffat wrote her. Like
that was,
I have
my start of like
I have so
I hate,
much
like,
hate.
Yeah.
Like Irene Adler is a lesbian. Like just anyway, like it like in terms of like the modern like BBC Sherlock Holmes, my view has always been Irene Adler is a lesbian, and they alluded to it, but no.
See, here's the thing, like I read, so there was a series of Irene Adler mystery series written by Carol Nelson Douglas, which I read and I loved, and it really influenced how I view Irene as a character. But also reading the original story, Irene, like there is never any romantic attraction between her and Sherlock. She just shows up to like in disguise at the very end to basically be like, good night, Mr. Holmes, and like go off and then outwits him. And it's so frustrating that so many adaptations are like, this is a woman who talks to a man, ergo, and she outsmarts him, ergo romance.
Yeah.
I think the only one that did it well, like where I didn't want to like claw my skin off, was Elementary, because they like did something very different with that, where I feel like they kind of took this modern idea of like Irene as Sherlock's love interest and was like, oh, you think that's what we're going? Actually, that's a fiction. That's like the entire idea of Irene as a love interest is something that was made up. And Irene as a love interest is like the quintessential fanon becomes people's canon.
Yeah. I think going back to like Moffat is like, I feel like Moffat's characterization, like Moffat's misogyny is the kind that stabs you in the front, whereas I feel like RTD's is kind of like gives you the illusion of something progressive and then in actuality stabs you in the back when you're not looking, and
Yes.
and that's why it feels more hurtful in a way, because it's like the enemy is inside with you.
RTD is a gay white man, and I mean that in every derogatory sense. Actually, another good example of him being like, this female character has to be with a man, Kate Stewart randomly gets together with Colonel Ibrahim. No reason why, except for she needs a man.
Speaking also of like strong female characters, going away from Doctor Who and RTD and Moffat to other hacks, specifically D&D from Game of Thrones fame, I am still super salty for how Brienne of Tarth's character got handled in that show, or not handled. Like, and I have qualms about Brienne's character in the books as well, because like Martin is the kind of author who sure does try, but he kind of gets handicapped by his own internal bullshittery when it seems like when it comes to women. So he has a lot of like, I feel like he has a lot of good ideas with his female characters, and then he kind of just can't help himself but like lean into some really annoying things with them. But like this idea that a woman can only be strong if she, by her proximity to masculinity and by undermining other women. Because like, for example, in the books, in A Song of Ice and Fire, both Arya and Brienne never really talk down to other women. Like Arya has qualms with Sansa, but Arya doesn't attack Sansa's femininity.
They're also sisters. Like, I would be shocked if Arya and Sam, like, if they didn't like have their issues.
Yeah. But I think that's where the misunderstanding. Like in the series, like these characters always have to attack the other character's femininity, and that their femininity makes them weak, or like their interest in beautiful things and stuff that makes them weak. And that's a fabrication that was not in the books. And that's like that's what annoys me. It actually makes them weaker characters, because I find them like much more nuanced and interesting when they are these like masculinely presenting characters with like more traditionally masculine interest, but they still understand the like appreciate the more traditionally feminine parts of the stuff. But like it feels like whenever there's a hack male writer, they always need to put down femininity in order to be a strong character, and I just
I don't think it's like particular. I think it's like that's a common thing, especially if you're reading like historical fantasy, and it's like, oh, women never did anything, they were just like shut up in a tower. And I think I actually reread Kate Elliott's Cold Magic recently, and one of the things that stood out to me is that Kat, our main character, like she does sword fighting, she's trained as a spy, but she also does a lot of sewing. And Kate Elliott wrote an essay about it, talking about like why it was important to her to have Kat sew. Like part of it is, you know, someone of her station would be expected to sew to mend because her family isn't rich, and so they would be doing a lot of mending. They would be like remaking things to better fit, or like to hand down once people outgrew. But also as like a character note, like her being able to focus and like really appreciating sewing as both work and as art.
Yeah. I will say also that whenever there are scenes in like whenever I see a male character also participate in like mending or doing what is often called a women's work, that like I love that. I wish there was more of that as well, because I do feel like sometimes like we talk about a lot of like media influence and stuff, but it is kind of true that you can't even, like, if you don't see stuff in your real life, because real life influences you, and in that similar way media influences you, like, so if you don't see stuff in the real life, then at least you could see them in media and portray these different kinds of ways to be a woman, different kinds of ways to be a man. And it is true that in a lot of ways, women and feminine presenting people have more avenues to express themselves, whereas, you know, with the patriarchy and stuff, men are pushed into this narrow corridor, and that's the only kind of acceptable path. Only acceptable emotion is rage, and every other emotion needs to be expressed through anger and stuff like this. Like, it's so I would want to also like have portrayals of that more in the media, of like men just like participating in like normal things that are often associated with women, because they used to weren't associated with women. Men were also mending, men were also like doing care work, similarly to how women were also participating in hunting and fishing and stuff. So like I just hate that we have like,
you know,
polarized ourselves.
The Victorians.
We can blame them for so much.
The British are coming.
The British, the Victorians.
I just like, indeed, blame the Victorians. Is it like when
things.
Is it like Reagan and Thatcher ruined everything, but then like Victorians ruined everything?
Yes.
Did anybody see
No.
D&D's adaptation of the Three-Body Problem? No, I did not, and that was intentional because I do not want to support their hack writing. I have seen enough. They made Achilles straight in Troy, and that was strike number 1.
Oh, I forgot they did Troy.
They did Troy.
Wait. They did Troy?
They did Troy. Achilles and Patroclus are cousins. And Achilles' love interest is Briseis. Yes.
Oh, that is hilarious.
You have to laugh because the only other option is to cry. It's like my favorite movie review.
Renee, they
My
got the
favorite
Sailor Moon
movie
treatment.
review. Indeed, the Sailor Moon treatment, and they were cousins. It's so bad. But like my favorite movie review is someone writing in Troy what's the word, like there's suspension of disbelief, but I draw the line at Achilles being straight. And it was a 1-star review. I can, like, what's the word? I can understand historical inaccuracies, but I draw the line at Achilles being straight, and I'm like, yes, indeed, me too. Okay, we are about at time. We have been on for 2 hours, so we can go around and talk a little bit about what we're excited about for the next month or so, and then start winding down. So, Kelsey, do you want to go first?
I'm not excited about my Hugo reading. But that's what I'll be doing.
Sorry.
Sorry, we're de-influencing you.
Everyone in the group chat's just like, this sucks.
Yeah.
I am excited about the Witch Roads, Renee. I've pre-ordered that. I'm also excited about the next Malka Older and the sequel to Road to Ruin, which is like the sci fantasy bisexual panic. Oh no, I like both the prince and the princess book. I do think like you need to get Road to Ruin, Rhea, because I do think you would like it.
Yeah, I'm waiting for it from the library. I did get it one time, and then I didn't have time to read it, and I had to return it because it got like reservations. So now I'm once again in the line.
Yeah. So there's that, and then Rachel Hartman has a new book coming out at the end of June, and I'm so excited for it. It's set in the world of Serafina. It's a younger YA book.
That I will be dropping everything for the moment it releases.
I'm so happy that we're getting another Rachel Hartman book. Even if it's not the third test book.
Is there...
Oh yeah, Catherine Addison is also releasing
I don't know
stuff.
if there's going to be a third test book. In my heart, I want a third test
In my heart, I also want there to be a third test book, but I also haven't heard her say anything about there being one.
Yeah, this is just like my deepest hope and dream is that we get a third test book.
Me too.
Test of the Roads?
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually don't have any like the Happy of the End Volume 3 is coming out in August, I think. So that is something that I am waiting for, because the Volume 2 ended in a huge cliffhanger and also was very sad. And I need to know that my boys will find some happiness after all of the turmoil and awfulness that has happened in the first 2 volumes. I just need someone to be happy. I need someone to get through this to the other side and have a happy life. Because happy of the end, no one is happy. There is a lot of ends, but no one is happy. There is nothing happy about the series. Rachel, anything you want to plug, or like anything you're excited for?
I can't think of anything off the top of my head. I did not prepare for this. I am also looking forward to the new Malka Older. I've got a certain problem right now where things that I'm looking forward to getting them from the library is not getting new releases very quickly, so it's like it's a problem. So I am debating how much do I want this and should I just buy it? Yeah.
I mean, if you can, then
if I can't buy every book that I want to read. There's a reason why I use the library.
I mean, sure. There was when is the Demon Queen coming out, or Queen Demon?
This fall.
Yeah. I thought it was coming out in like September-ish or something. It's coming out pretty soon, I think.
Yeah, I'm very excited for it.
Yes, that is the thing where I'm gonna drop everything and I'm probably gonna pre-order it.
I am gonna do a reread of The Witch King before it drops because someone I know got an arc and said that it kind of picks up pretty like soon after The Witch King. So I do want to do a reread.
Yeah. My brain just completely short-circuited just now. Next month, I think
Kelsey.
We're on Kelsey's channel. Yes. I also remember the rotation because Dai is last in the rotation.
Because
Rachel is first.
We have my birthday month.
So, with that said, thank you everyone for joining and participating in the discussion. It has been a fun time. And we will see you when we know when our next show will be, but like it will be on Kelsey's channel. And with that, have a very happy rest of your weekend and very happy Pride Month. And be gay and do crime responsibly. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.